All right, so we are getting started here with our teen virtual school readiness workshop. First annual, I guess, for now, for our inaugural virtual. Last year, we were able to have an in-person job search workshop, and excited to be able to offer a school readiness workshop today. My name is Andy Terry. I work for the City of Cypress as a recreation specialist. And here with us are a lot of our presenters, as well as other city staff. So Simi, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Simi Soto. I'm the recreation specialist for the City of La Palma.
My name is Leanne. I'm a senior recreation leader here at the City of La Palma.
And with us also are some supervisors. Shelly is here.
Hi, I'm Shelly with the City of Cypress.
Ivan San Pedro is here with the City of La Palma. However, video and mic is not an option today. And then with the City of Cypress, also we have Recreation Leader Travis. Give us a wave.
Guys.
And Hallie.
Hi, everybody.
All right, so gonna go ahead and turn it over to Simi to start off with some Zoom etiquette, just to get us going here.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. So I'm pretty sure you guys all use Zoom for like everything now, school, basic life and whatnot. So these are just a couple things to keep in mind for that and for this meeting as well. So first things first, you want to make sure that you're prepared. If you have a notebook, if you have like your water bottle, a clock, anything that you need to make sure that you're prepared for your meeting. For me, that means my water bottle, my coffee, my notebook, and my pen, just in case I need to take notes. A good example is right before this meeting, I had to switch offices and I forgot all my stuff in my office. And had I not started a little bit ahead of time, I would have been unprepared. And we probably would have started even later because I had to go back and forth, grab all my papers, grab my notebook and stuff like that. You want to also make sure when you're on Zoom is to be aware of your surroundings. One thing for today is I had to kind of look around, make sure that no like pertinent information, make sure there was no clutter in the background. Again, this isn't my, she's not cluttered. This isn't my normal office space, but you want to make sure that, you know, just like in the videos and the memes we've seen online, make sure there's like no one behind you, kind of let them know like, hey, I'm going to be in this Zoom meeting. People can hear you, that type of stuff. So just be aware of your surroundings. And with that as well, make sure, you know, you're wearing the appropriate clothes. I would say pants are not optional. Make sure you have on pants. It kind of helps you get you in that preparedness, that that professional mindset type of thing. So appropriate clothes, be aware of your surroundings. And then again, if you're not speaking, you want to go ahead and mute yourself. I know we've all been there. We're in the middle of a meeting. The meeting starts to get good, it's getting interesting, and then someone's driving or someone you know is in a car and you hear like the background, or you hear the cat in the background, or someone's doing construction and they're not talking at the moment and they're taken away from the presentation. So again, if you're not speaking, just go ahead and mute yourself. If you don't know how to do that, it's the little microphone. You just click it and it'll say mute, and then in your picture it'll be the red microphone. And you'll be muted, and you can say and scream as loud as you want. None of us will hear you. And then also, just a tip, a life tip actually, is to always take notes. Like I said, notebook and pen. You never know when you may hear something cool, you may think of something new, something awesome, and you want to go ahead and write it down. I know I have like the worst memory in the world, so I always keep my notebook and my pen on me. And a quick tip trick, when you go to like meetings, if we ever get back to normal meetings in person and you're taking notes, you look good to the presenters, you look good to your potential bosses at the time, and you look good to your teachers and your future professors and whatnot. And thank you guys for listening to my Zoom etiquette tips.
Awesome. Thank you, Simi. So one other thing to add, and I think we kind of already took care of this, but it's also nice to see your name. So thank you for changing your name so that we can call you by your first name if we need to call upon anyone. And then the other thing is in some meetings, it's optional. This meeting, we prefer if your camera is on and if we can see your face during the entire presentation. Obviously, if you're taking notes, you're going to be looking down, but then engaging with your face, we can see your face the whole time. So just being aware of that and, you know, nodding your head and agreeing, or, you know, having a question face we may be able to know like that you have a question or something like that. In regards to questions, we will have an opportunity as the presenters speak. After each presentation, there'll be time for questions, question and answer with that specific speaker. If you are comfortable using the microphone and asking the question, you can do that, or you can put it in the chat box and just send that to everyone in the chat. That way we can be sure to get that question answered at the end of any one presentation. We also will allow time at the very end to, if you thought of a question that didn't get answered, you can ask then. All right, so back to Simi and Leanne.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Good. All right. So my name is Leanne. Like I said, I am a senior recreation leader here at the City of La Palma. I also do work over at the City of Buena Park as well, and I'm a recent graduate from Cal State Long Beach. So today I will just be giving a quick little presentation on Google Drive. I'm sure a lot of you have probably a plethora of experience on it at this point, with everything being online. I know Google Classroom has been a big thing, especially in the elementary schools. I'm not sure if that's transferred over to the junior highs and high schools, but I'm sure you guys spend a lot of time on Google Drive, and if not, I'm going to give you a whole lot of reasons on why you should and why you should start getting to learn the face of it and all of that. So what is the Google Drive? Google Drive is a free cloud-based resource that allows you to access various applications anywhere, anytime on any device. It's very similar to the Microsoft Office, except it is internet-based, which makes it way easier to access. I can access it on my phone, my iPad, my laptop, anywhere, as long as I have my email and my password. A couple applications that they do have on there that I find myself using the most is Google Word, so I think it's Google Docs actually, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Forms, and there's a whole bunch of more of them. I actually will go into each one a little bit individually in a couple of slides, but overall it's great. So we're going to talk about why it's so great. So the benefits of Google Drive, easy collaboration. So as many of you may know, on Google Doc and Google Slides and any of the other interfaces of Google Drive, you're able to share it with anyone that has a Gmail. So anyone that has a Gmail is able to access that document, and you can give them privileges to change things, to type in certain places, or whatever is your need at that time. So this is especially helpful if you have class projects and you're in a group with other people, especially now that we're in time of COVID, you know, meeting up isn't really ideal. So this is a really easy way to collaborate with others, to be able to work on the same thing at the same time from different places. You can work on it, like I said, at the same time. You can, one of your group mates may be working at it at 6 in the morning, and that's okay because you can log in at noon and see all the work that they've done and, you know, keep adding to that. It's also easy access. So in regard to that, like I said, you can access it on any device that has internet. So it's way easier than, I know I've been frustrated a couple times when you're working at home, say on your personal computer, on, let's say, a school project, and then you may be somewhere else, maybe you're at your grandparents' house or you're who knows where else, and then you don't have access to that document or that PowerPoint or any of that anymore. With Google Drive, it's not like that. Like I said, as long as you have the email and the password, you can access it anywhere you are. It's free up to 15 gigabytes. I personally use it for school, for work, and I've had the same one since I was in high school, so over 4 years ago, and I've never run out of space yet. So that free 15 gigs is awesome. I know I actually was talking to Sydney earlier, and one thing that she had mentioned that I hadn't quite used it for was it's really great even for your photos. Even if you're transferring, say, from an Android device to an iPhone, or you have maybe a couple different devices, you have an iPad, but then you have an Android phone, sharing pictures back and forth is not always the easiest. So if you upload them to your drive, they are the same thing applies as if you made a Google Doc or anything of that sort. It's accessible from anywhere. Also really great if for some reason you have a phone malfunction, it gets lost and the cloud didn't save everything for you, or your MacBook crashes or something crazy like that, all your pictures are still up on Google Drive and they do not get deleted. Another thing is it is super user friendly. I remember when I first transitioned to Google Docs, it was probably my first application I used on the Google Drive. It was a little bit frustrating because it was just significantly different than Microsoft Office at the time. But once you get past those couple things that are a little bit different, it really is just the ease of use is incredible. And the features that it has goes far beyond what Microsoft offers in my personal experience. But it's definitely something you do have to learn if you are transitioning over from a Microsoft or any other type of drive. It is also interconnected, so interconnected via multiple devices, via your different group members or whoever needs to be accessing those things. You can even share it with like a teacher or professor if that needs be. Once you're a little bit older, you can share it with coworkers. You can share whatever you need to with anyone at any time. Even if they don't have a Gmail, they can still view it. I have a Yahoo account. If I send it to my Yahoo account, I can still view that document that someone has sent me, but I don't believe I can actually edit it. Autosave, Google Docs, Google Slides, all of those types of programs, they save as you go. I don't know if we've ever been in the frustrating point where you're almost done with something and then your computer dies or something and everything's gone. And there's nothing more frustrating than that. And with Google Docs and Google Slides and all of those Google Drive applications, you don't have that issue. It saves pretty much every couple seconds to a minute, I believe. So even if your computer does crash, you still have pretty much all your work up to maybe a minute before it crashed. So that is, it's a lifesaver for sure. And then another thing that Cindy and I actually were discussing earlier was the idea of read receipts. So if you send an email or you send a document to someone, you can see that they've opened it. So if you have that procrastinator in your group, in your school group, and you want to see if they've actually looked at anything yet, you have that ability. You can also see changes that have been made to it, additions, if anyone else has been shared into it, all of those sorts of things. So it really does just give you an overall view of who's been on your document and when it's been accessed and all sorts of stuff like that. Also, like I was saying about sharing it with a teacher or professor, you can see if they've already seen it, when they opened it, all that type of stuff. So those are the benefits. To the right of your screen, you can see just a little image of how you access your Google Drive. So this is just google.com, and then you click on the little icons of the little squares, and it says the drive. If you click more, you can also go directly to your Google Docs, your Google Slides, and all of those other mini applications within the Google Drive. So we will then go to the cons, which there's not many of them, and most of the cons are outweighed by the positives. So you must have internet access in most cases. I know that you are able to download certain things for your internet. If you're going on a road trip, I like to download a couple things that I'm working on just so that I still have access to them off of the grid internet. But most of the time you do have internet, so if you don't have internet access, that does make it a little bit more challenging to work on things. Like I said earlier, it is a different interface in Microsoft, so it does take some adjustment going from a Microsoft Word to a Google Docs or a Microsoft PowerPoint to Google Slides. But ultimately, it is very similar. The different icons and things like that are pretty self-explanatory. You know, they always have the help page and all of that. So once you get past that initial jump over, it's a breeze. And then ease of collaboration, I know I talked about as a big positive in the last slide. There are a couple cons to it. If you type something in and someone could just go right over it and highlight it and delete it, whether it's on accident or it's on purpose, it can get a little bit frustrating. If you're working on it at the same time as another group, so say Simi and I are both working on the same document, sometimes it can get a little challenging with like spacing and trying to, you know, stay on your own page and things like that. You'll be working on something and all of a sudden everything will slide down a little bit because Simi's on the page above me typing or spacing it out or anything like that. So, but like I said, usually the positives outweigh on that one. It is really nice to be able to collaborate anywhere at any time. And then also, like I had spoken about earlier, you can see the changes that were made. So if something does get deleted, you can go back and see maybe where this happened or who even deleted it if there's multiple people on there, and kind of figure out why it got deleted or why something got added, things like that. To the left of the screen, there's 13 tips to organize your Google Drive. I find myself getting a little bit mixed up in my Google Drive once in a while because, like I said, I use it for multiple areas. I use it for both my jobs. I use it for school. I use it for personal life. So it is really nice to keep it organized and find your files, or else you get just lost in just loads and loads of documents. It's like adding everything to your home screen and then never labeling any of it. So I definitely recommend labeling it ahead of time. These are just some good ways. My favorite one is probably number 3, use file and folder descriptions. I rely a lot on folders. I make one for each class I have, for each job I'm doing, things like that, just to keep everything organized and in the same place. All right, so if you aren't already on the Google Drive, which I'm sure probably most of you are, even if it's just a school email that the school has given you to use on that, you just create a Gmail account. You access the Google Drive using that last picture of 2 slides ago, and then you can explore all the features it has. Like I said, it is very similar to the Microsoft Office. So on the left, I wrote out kind of the comparisons between the two and then what's their best uses. So for Google Docs, it's the equivalent is Microsoft Word. They're pretty much look the same. They have all the same functions. And their best uses are for, you know, taking notes, essays, anything that's just basic word processing. Google Sheets is like Google Excel. So spreadsheets, it has the capability to do a lot of like math equations and things like that. So definitely more of a math-based program. I see myself using it more and more as a good way to keep organized too. Excel's awesome. If you don't use Excel already, I recommend, you know, really getting into it early on, because it really is a lifesaver when you, math, it can do incredible things. Google Slides is very similar to PowerPoint. So anytime you need to make a presentation for class, I made this presentation on this one is a PowerPoint, but you could have done it on slides. It was just easier because I was here. Google Forms, I don't quite know what the equivalent to is in Microsoft Office, but it is something really great if you need to send out surveys, questionnaires, evaluation forms. Maybe you have, in your math class, you have to survey students on what their favorite color is. That's something really easy. It loads up all of the results for you. It makes them into different graphs. It makes them into all sorts of things. So some really great information can come from using Google Forms. Google Drawing, I don't quite have a lot of experience in. Today was, I opened it up and I was trying to messing with it and see what I personally related it to. And for me, it was very similar to Microsoft Publisher. Publisher is more so if you are doing any type of artsy stuff, so flyers, large prints. You can also do a lot of those things on Microsoft Word, but for me, Microsoft Publisher and the drawing on Google Drive is better if you're focusing more on artistic things, artwork, and things that you're planning to print later on. Google Drive also has Google Sites, which allows you to make websites. I don't know what the Microsoft equivalent to that is. I know there's quite a few websites out there that do it. But it is really nice that it's linked to your Google Drive so you can always access it, you know, the password and the email to get into it at any time. And the interface of it is very similar to Google Docs and Google Sheets, so you're much more familiar with it than going to any other website and learning how to use that. So that is my presentation on the Google Drive. If you have any questions, are we doing them later? Doing them now. Does anyone have any questions? I can talk about how you do certain things on there. I just really wanted to give an overview of it and the benefits of it, and see, you know, what you guys want to hear beyond that. How do I access the questions?
Like exit your screen.
Where? Okay.
I actually have a question, Leanne.
Okay.
So I know you were talking about how, like, let's say I'm working on a document and then we're both working on the same document. Now, does that only work for Google Docs, or does that also apply to the spreadsheet and the PowerPoint? Because sometimes, you know, in school, my group and I are working on a PowerPoint and, you know, group
Yeah.
projects in virtual world.
I know that you can use it for Google Docs. I know you can use it for Google Slides. I'm pretty sure you can use it for Google Excel, and then Google Forms. I don't believe you can share with someone for them to edit it, but you can send it out to people. And I may be wrong on that one. Andy?
So I have used Google Forms, created things for our staff members, our Youth Action Committee members, things like that. And you are able to send that and have someone else edit it. You can have multiple users collaborating on it. So yeah, that is a possibility if that was the question.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, you can collaborate on pretty much any of their interface. Like I said, it's a really valuable tool. I know Andy said she uses it with staff and Youth Action Committee members. I do the same thing. I like to send like our availabilities on there and things like that. It is really nice. And like I said, you can access it anywhere, anytime. So even if a staff or one of the volunteers or anything wants to go see it later on, they still have that access. Do we have it? Oh, do we have any other questions? Are we all on the Google Drive for the most part? Thumbs up if we are.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's on it at this point. Yeah, the benefits of it are incredible, and if you haven't made that transition over from Microsoft, I really recommend doing it. You know, more and more Google is becoming a part, or Gmail in general, and the Google Drive is really becoming a part of everyday life, and everyone is learning to rely on that a little bit more than Microsoft Office. And it's free. Microsoft Office is not free. It actually is a little bit pricey. In school, it's free usually, and usually your parents have it, but after that, it gets a little pricey every year.
And then I have one last question. I don't know if you guys can tell I'm a Microsoft person. I'm sorry. But, you know, Microsoft, let's say I accidentally delete something, you can always go back. Is that the same case for Google as well?
Yes, you can. There's like, do you mean like when you're working on a physical document?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like, you know, deletes and you're like, oh, backspace.
Yep, there's a back button, undo, redo, all of that sorts of stuff. Yep. Anything else? Well, I'm always here, so if you have any questions, I have used Google Drive for years, and I got the answers.
Awesome.
Are we frozen? Oh. Okay, take it away.
Okay, so next up, I think Annie's a little frozen.
Oh, am I back?
Oh, you're
She's
back.
back.
Sorry. It just like totally went blank for a moment. Super sorry. Hope, can you hear me again? Oh no.
You're good. All good.
Yes.
I'm good? Okay, good. So now we're going to introduce the next speaker. So that will be Travis Ramsdell on time management and planner use. So Travis, you can take it over from here.
Perfect. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me get this going. Does everyone see it? Is everyone good?
Yes.
I think I'm good. Perfect. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you once again for coming out to this teen workshop. I know you guys got some great advice, some great insight and experiences regarding the use of Google Drive and all the capabilities that they have. Now, what I want to walk you guys through is time management and the use of Planner. And my name is Travis Ramsdell. I am a recreation leader over at the City of Cypress. Just a little bit more about me. I am currently attending Cal State Long Beach. I'm a fourth year student. Yes, go Beach. And one thing that a lot of people may not know about me that applies to this topic is I actually did not start properly using time management skills or even a planner until my second year of college. But because of that, I now live by a planner and a calendar daily. So, you know, whether you guys are still in high school or whether you would transition from high school to college or wherever you may be in life, and you may think that, oh, you know, there's no point in developing time management skills, or I've made it this far with a planner, I'll be good. Trust me when I say this, and I'll say it multiple times throughout the presentation, it is always beneficial to you to develop proper time management skills or even using a planner, because it will make your life a whole lot easier and you will able to accomplish your tasks that much more efficiently. So basically what we'll cover today, we'll go with a general time management overview. I know it's a term we've heard throughout our entire lives. Some of you guys may know exactly what it is, or some of you guys may not know. So I'll walk you guys through exactly what it is and the different aspects that are attached to it. Next, I'll go over some time management tips that I have for you guys, either that I've learned personally just through trial and error for myself, or that I've learned from other people and their experiences. Next, we'll talk about the planner and have a discussion between paper planners and online planners and the advantages that are attached to both. I'll discuss, you know, paper planner tips as well as online planner tips, and then I will give you guys an example of my personal online planner. I know when someone wants to transition from paper to online, they don't necessarily know where to look or which one works best for them. So I will show you guys an example that has worked for me. And then we'll wrap it up with one thing that I hope you guys can take away from this presentation. So time management. Time management is a term, it's actually a phrase that you guys have probably heard multiple times throughout your life. If you guys did not know, time management is actually the decision-making process that structures, protects, and adjusts a person's time to changing environmental conditions. So I know obviously in this day and age, we're all very busy people. We have a lot of different aspects that are attached to our lives, whether it be school, extracurriculars. Some of you guys may be involved in sports. You may be either working or volunteering or looking to start working or volunteering. Yeah, family life, social life. It's a lot that is weighing on our shoulders, where sometimes it gets to the point where we just want to take a step back and be like, okay, do I have a chance to breathe for a second? So understandably, all those different factors can weigh in on ourselves. Now, with time management and the development of proper time management skills, you can take all those different factors, structure them properly, and say, okay, this is the way to accomplish each task that I have. So with time management, there are 3 skills that help separate time management from success to failure. And number 1 is awareness, and just being aware that time in itself is a very limited resource. I know, especially when we plan out our days or we want to accomplish our tasks a certain way, it gets to the point where we realize we don't have enough time to accomplish everything, or when we do accomplish everything, we sit back and like, oh wow, there's not enough time left in the day, like my day's gone. So just being aware, especially how much time you actually have in a day, and being able to plan things out will make your life so much easier. Arrangement, I know with time management, this is probably the one you guys are most familiar with. This is just the idea of taking all those different factors and structuring them out and saying, okay, I'm going to accomplish this, this, and this today in this order. And lastly, for time management, it's adaptation. Obviously, things may change. We may not want them to change, but something may come up where we have to accomplish a task in a different order or push it off to the next day. So just being able to adapt on the fly and restructure your day will be able to still accomplish your tasks in a timely manner. And so with all these different factors, some may suggest that, oh, I know arrangement the most, that's got to be the most important, or these two factors are more important than the last one. Actually, all these three factors are equally important, and being able to connect with that and say, okay, in order to properly time manage, I have to consider all of these. Once again, you'll be able to accomplish whatever you need to do in the day. So essentially, you need to realize that, yes, arranging your tasks in a proper manner is important, and you need to understand how much time you actually have to complete each task, as you need to know what to do if something comes up where you have to switch up your list. So let's move into some tips and strategies. The number one tip I always give, you guys have heard it multiple times throughout your life, I know I did, is do your hardest or your most time-consuming task first. If you guys did not know, our brain is wired in such a way where when we do something or we accomplish a task, we want an instant reward. So ideally, it makes sense that, oh, this task is only going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to do that one first because that's going to be the shortest and I get that instant reward. I recommend do not do that. Do your hardest or your most time-consuming task first, because if you accomplish that shorter task first, you will feel less obligated and less motivated to come back to that hardest task. And you'll either completely brush it off or breeze through it and not try your best. I suggest flip it on your head. So if you accomplish that hard task first, and understandably you may be wiped from it, you're like, man, that took 30 minutes. I'm done. Like, that took a lot out of me. But you look at the next task that you have to do, which is 10 minutes, and you start thinking, oh, I'm in my reward right now because I just accomplished that one. So now it's only 10 minutes from now until my next reward. Oh, I'll just breeze through it. That way I'll be done for the day and all my tasks will be done. That's why we say do your hardest one first. So number two, if all your tasks are time consuming, do the one that has the most priority attached to it first. So, let's say you have one task that's due tomorrow and then a task that's due in 2 days. I recommend do the one that obviously has the most priority, which is the one due tomorrow. Because if you do the one that has less priority, once again, you'll feel not motivated to do the task that has to be done, and you'll possibly breeze through it without trying your best. So if you do the one that is due in 2 days, let's say you look at the one that's due tomorrow, understandably, once again, you're wiped, but you look at the one that has more priority and you start thinking, oh, I have to get this done because it's due tomorrow. Do the one that has the more priority attached to it. That way, if you are completely wiped, you still have another day, which leads me into my third tip, which is always have a backup plan for when you can do each task. Obviously, you should always have a time or a date for when you want to ideally accomplish each task. But having a backup time that is reasonable, in which you'll still be able to accomplish whatever it is may be, that leads not as much stress to be attached to you. And you know that, okay, I can't do it at this time, but knowing that I still have another time that I can do it makes it so much more beneficial. So let's say, you get out of school at 3:30, and let's say you have volunteer or whatever it may be at 5 o'clock. Your ideal time, let's say you want to accomplish from 3:30 to 5. Oh, but you and your friends, they want to go eat after school. That's perfect. You can go eat. That just means that now you have to do it during your backup time, let's say after volunteer or whatever it may be. But one thing I always caution is when you do it during your backup time, you have to be aware of the consequences that may be attached to it. Some of them may be missing out on events. Let's say your friends want to go watch a movie during your backup time. Now you have to contemplate, okay, do I do my task or do I have time to go out with my friends? And that leads to that decision like, okay, I should have done it during my ideal time. Or you may be more tired or irritated. I know some people may be night owls. I like to claim that I am, but I'm starting to accept that I'm not. And I know when I start doing my tasks later on in the day, I start becoming more tired and irritated and obviously start thinking, wow, I should have done this earlier. And you might not have the privileges or the conditions attached to your ideal time. I know some of you guys may still be in high school, and obviously in high school, you come to the realization where the teacher is probably there later, much, much later than any of the students will be. But I will tell you, once you get to college, you get a 2-hour window, one time a week, to meet with your professor. And if you don't make that time and you email them saying, hey, can I have some help? They will email you back saying, yeah, of course, come to my office hours. Trust me, I've had that happen to me multiple times. So, certain privileges or conditions like that, you have to realize that they may not apply to every single time that you want to do a task. So I always suggest do it during your ideal time. So let's transition over to a planner. So obviously, I'm sure you guys know exactly what a planner is, but in case you don't, the planner, it gives you the ability to take all those factors and responsibilities in your life and put them in one place. While you may decide whether it be paper or online planners, each one allows you to have different ways to approach your day, and you're able to try multiple types before finding that specific one that works for you. So with paper planners, some advantages that I have for those is, if you guys didn't know, writing your tasks by hand forces you to slow down and approach your planning with more mindfulness. You're obviously able to retain the information better. And with paper planners, you have the ability to have everything in one place, whether it be calendars, to-do lists, even notes. All that can be secured in one paper planner. On the other hand, with online planners, you can customize it to your liking. I know some people may not want to have notes in their paper planner. Perfect. Take out the notes. You can make the to-do list even longer to add more tasks if you like. You can also have it set up with reminders. So instead of looking back at your planner and thinking, oh, when do I have to do this, this, and this? Boom, reminder either on your phone or wherever it may be. You can always see when the reminders show up. And it's portable. So, on the fly, if, friends or family say, oh, let's go to dinner, tomorrow night or wherever, boom, pull out your phone, pull out your laptop. Now it's all set. So you have that reminder for you. So with paper planner tips, the number one tip is allocate one time in the week to plan out your big events in that following week. When you do this, it allows us to reflect on certain deadlines that are coming up, and it gives you a chance to see how much time that we have left in each day for the micromanage. So let's say on the weekend, you want to write down your big events. Okay, I have a test on Thursday. Now, when it comes to Wednesday night, when you're trying to plan out your next day, you can see that big test that you want to at least try and plan your day around. So it may be studying in the morning before your test, or because you ace that test, you can go out and celebrate afterwards. Basically, it just gives you a chance to have those big events stick out more prominently. Number two, check your planner daily. I know with online planners, they have the ability to give you reminders. And I know some people with paper planners, it's good. Of course, you're writing down what you need to do, but then they just close it and don't look at their planner again. Check it, because it is ultimately up to you to refer back to your planner and see how your day is planned out. Number three, mark off your completed tasks. That's probably the best feeling whenever completing your tasks, because it taps into your idea of wanting that reward. Whether you want all your completed tasks to be a big orange box, that's what you're aiming for. It's like, I want that big orange box because I know all my tasks are done. And essentially, it helps you become more motivated to wanting to finish all your tasks. And lastly, have that paper planner handy as a backup. I know with technology nowadays can be very weird sometimes, so having something physical to hold on to definitely works wonders. Switching into some online planner tips, if you guys choose to go that route. Number one, incorporate your big tasks or your deadlines with a reminder. I always recommend to have it at least a week ahead, and I have it be displayed until the deadline is over, not when you finish it. I'll show you guys an example with my personal planner, but essentially, online it is very easy to cross off a task and you'll never see it again, whether or not you actually did it. But I know those big tasks, I keep them displayed until the deadline is over, so it forces me to double check, even triple check, to make sure I accomplished it to the best of my ability. Number two, categorize them, whether it be with colors or names, whatever it may be. I know some people with online tasks, it may be easy or may be preferred to just create a generic list, which if it may work for you, perfect. But you can get creative with it and thus tap in, of course, to that reward potential of creating that big orange box if you choose to. And number three, put in those events or your tasks that you receive ASAP. This goes hand in hand with setting up that reminder, as once you incorporate your events, you won't have anything to worry about, whether it's about missing anything. Basically, those reminders will be there to let you know. So this is an example of my personal online planner in case you guys wanted to know where to look. This is from mystudylife.com. I will go ahead and walk you guys through basically how I have it set up. So in the left column, that's basically what today is like. I took these screenshots on Sunday, September 27th. Directly to the right, obviously it's a Sunday, no classes, perfect. But I have that big red circle showing, Travis, you have an exam going on today. If I look down the lower left column, it's for one of my classes. It's a case studies paper. If I go even further down, it shows I don't have any classes on Monday, but my next class date, Tuesday, I have 3 classes and another big orange circle saying, Travis, you got 5 tasks due. As soon as I start accomplishing them, that slowly starts turning green. And luckily, I don't have any exams due on Tuesday, so perfect. That middle column shows just a bigger overview of what I have to get accomplished with those big 7 tasks that I have to do. And as you go down, it's broken down by class, whether it's column 306 or 431, specifying what assignments I have to do, and it has the due dates. Some of them are due on the 29th and some of them are due on the 30th. As well as on the far right, once again, that big exam, constant reminder, and that's gonna be there until it's done, and it actually started showing up a week ahead. So it was essentially just a big countdown timer until I knew, okay, this is time to do it. This is just a bigger overview of those tasks. So some of them may be repeated, but look at all the way down at the bottom, due October 13th. Like I say, I know in college, it definitely applies. It may apply in high school, but take those big tasks or those assignments that you have to do, and they will always be there for you as a reminder. And that applies the same way for all my exams. Look at where these took place in September, it shows up in October, November, specifying what I need to get done. So essentially, one thing that I want you guys to take away from this, it is never too late to start developing your time management skills. No matter at what place in life or whatever may apply to you, having proper time management skills or even using a planner will always be beneficial no matter what, and it will make your life a whole lot easier and you'll be able to accomplish your tasks a whole lot more effectively. Perfect. So if you guys have any questions, by all means, go for it.
I have a question. What is that
Yes.
online planner app that you use?
So it is called mystudylife.com, and it is obviously it's online, but they also have a app as well that is connected to my phone. So I can pull up, My Study Life, whether, like I say, you pull out your phone, your laptop, you can instantly put in your tasks and you can set it up however way you want. So for me, at least at the beginning of each semester, I set it up with all my classes, certain clubs that I have to attend, and it'll all be there for me. Any other questions?
I'm gonna check the chat box. Is there any,
Hi,
you guys
how
have
would
questions?
you deal with like distractions in everyday life?
I'm sorry?
How would you deal with like distractions?
How would I deal with distractions? I don't want to make it sound like cliche and just say like, oh, just ignore them, but it's very, I would say, trial and error, at least how I developed with it. It's just one of those things where you have to sort of look at the bigger picture and say, okay, yeah, let's see how this distraction is going to pan out in the rest of my day. So, like I say, distractions, sometimes they may be good distractions. Let's say, like you want to take a breather and you want to go eat with family or you want to go do an event with your friends, that's perfect. But now you have to calculate that into the rest of your day. And so I wouldn't say that, you should shun off every distraction and everything, but just being aware on how that will affect the rest of your day and really studying the pros and cons of it, it can still work out for you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for Travis? Feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat box.
So, I have a question, Travis. With
Yes.
the regular planners, like the paper planners, I have one, but what I've noticed is that there's like so many options out there. Like you have like the big giant ones, the tiny ones, the medium ones, the weekly ones. Like, so which one would you recommend for like our students here that would help them out, like with middle school and high school, getting organized in that sense?
I would personally recommend, I know the ones that I personally, because I obviously didn't start using online planners straight from the get-go. So I actually started using paper planners before, and the ones that I would always use would be broken down by week, just because you want something that could essentially get the best of both worlds. And with those weekly planners, you can still have space to break down your day day by day, but then you can also look at the week in a bigger picture. So whether it be a Monday, you don't have to essentially flip like 5 days to get to Friday to see that you have a test. You can just open it up and say, okay, today's Monday. This is what I'm aiming for my task at the end of the week. So those weekly planners I would definitely recommend.
Thank you, Travis.
Of course.
All right. I think we will be concluding Travis right now. If you guys think of any questions at all, you can still put it in the chat box and we can ask later at the end of the entire event, whether it is for Leanne's presentation or Travis. Thank you so much, Travis, on that. Right now, we're going to transition to our final speaker of the event. Hallie is going to be presenting on effective note-taking. So Hallie, you can go ahead and take it away.
All right, let me share my screen really quickly. Okay. All right, can everybody see that? All good? Okay. So hi guys, welcome to the teen workshop. I'm going to be giving you guys a presentation on effective note-taking. So a little bit about me. My name's Hallie. I graduated from Cypress High School in 2019. I currently go to Cypress College where I'm a sociology major. And I've been working at Cypress Parks and Rec since 2018, which has been, it feels a lot longer than it has, and I absolutely love it. So when I graduated from high school, I had been taking a bunch of AP classes, just about 1 million dual enrollment classes. And I ended up graduating my senior year with a 4.16 GPA. And a lot of that has to do with good note taking. I learned how to take good notes probably, I want to say as early as 6th grade, and it's really helped me in the long run even now. So note taking is definitely a big part of helping your grades out. So first I'm going to talk about note taking setup. First of all, why do we take notes? When you're taking notes in class, even if your head's totally in the clouds, taking notes forces you to pay attention. If your head's in the clouds and you're not taking notes, you're not paying attention. But when you're taking notes, you have to listen to what the teacher's saying. You have to write it down. So after class, you can review all those notes that you took. It can also help with your grade, because if you take good notes, study, you get a good grade on the test, you have good grades in the class. So, hand-taken or typed? I'm an advocate for hand-taken notes. So when you take notes by hand, you have more control over your format, and you tend to remember the content better. Typed notes allow you to take notes more quickly, but it kind of, you're not going to retain it as much if you're just typing it and then never looking at it again. Also, taking notes online, it kind of, if you're really messy and you hate the way that taking notes by hand looks because you've got like the worst handwriting imaginable, typing notes could probably work out for you better. So there's a lot of ways to organize your notes, and we're going to talk about some of them. So some of them are going to include the Cornell method, the mapping method, the outline method, the charting method, writing on your slides, and annotation. So first up, Cornell notes. So Cornell note-taking has you fold or draw lines in 3 separate areas on your paper. So you're going to have a left smaller side, should I say left smaller side, for review. So you're going to write down cues and important concepts that you're going to use when you're studying. So this would be, if we were talking about history, we would do subtitle feudalism, subtitle XYZ kingdom, so on and so forth. On the right is going to be a big chunk of your paper where you're going to take notes during class. And then at the bottom, you're going to put your summary of what you learned so that when you're studying, you get to look back at it and it's easy. No searching for all this information. This is what it looks like. So as you can see on the right, there's detailed notes. On the left, there's subtitles and cues, stuff to look for when you're studying. And then at the bottom, oops, at the bottom is that summary that I was talking about. So why is it useful? All your notes are organized with all your big topics on the left, detailed notes on the right, and easy to find summary of what you learned on the bottom. When reviewing, this style makes it easy to pull up the information you're looking for. So say you've got like 4 pages of notes, back both sides, and you're looking for one important key term because it's on your study guide. You can just look at that left side and then find it easy as pie. Next, we're going to talk about the mapping method. The mapping method has you start in the center or at the top of your paper with your main topics, then branch off into subtopics, and then branch off of those with details. And when I say branching, I mean literally drawing off a branch, like this example here. So as you can see in the middle, there's the big topic, which is history. And then outside of that, almost like a ring, would be your subtopics and then your subtitles and so on and so forth. And then all of your notes would be on the margins of your paper. Why is it useful? The mapping method is more visual and tends to be helpful when you're learning about how one topic relates to another. So you can draw lines, you can draw pictures. It's going to be most helpful for those of you who like to doodle, who like to be artistic in everything that you do. A lot of people who take notes digitally, and like when I say digitally, I mean like actually on an iPad instead of taking it on a laptop, they like to use the mapping method most because it's kind of relaxed, not as structured as Cornell notes can be. Next, I'm going to talk about the outline method. The outline method is probably the most recognizable, most used form of note taking. Each section is going to start with a heading from the main topic, then underneath, usually in bullet points, is the details and subtopics, as you can see here. Most of us use this when we're taking notes. When you think about taking notes, this is what kind of pops into your brain. This is what I use most often. It's just because it's easy, it's not super complicated, it's all just right there. It can be easier to study from, and it provides more organizational support. So if you're super messy and mapping method's kind of making you not so happy, outline method will probably be best for you. Usually you don't have to revise your notes as often with this method, and you can take information down as it's being presented to you. So if you're in a lecture, your teacher's reading off the slides, you just kind of jot down your notes from the slides. So your subtopics and your bullet points can be used as questions for review when you're studying on your own. Next, we're going to talk about the charting method. The charting method has you fold and divide your paper into 3 or more columns, which you then title with appropriate titles. So if you're taking notes in history, you could title them years. If you're taking notes in English, you could do characters. If you're doing math, you could do formulas, so on and so forth. Really flexible with all your titles. This is what it would look like. So this is a set of history notes. As you can see, they have dates, the war that they're talking about, the war that they're learning about, the countries that were involved, the leaders, and the significance and outcome of it. Why is this useful? When taking notes, this information can help you break down a lot of information into smaller, easier to understand sections. This is most helpful for when you're in those lectures where the teacher is not going to stop for you to take notes. This is a lot to do with, there's a lot of information, you're trying to understand it, but you know you're not going to get it all when you're sitting down for 45 minutes in class. It's just going to be best for you to just break it down and look back at it again later. Writing on the slides. So in college, mostly, and a little bit in your last couple years of high school, a lot of the times the slides and lectures are going to be available to you ahead of time. So one method of taking notes is to print out these slides and write on the margins of them while you're listening to the lecture in class. This can be a little lazy, and if you're not going to discipline yourself and actually listen to take notes, it can end up hurting you in the long run. I don't actually have a picture for this one because it's all, you're just writing on the margins. So why is it useful? For classes where the PowerPoint is the most important part, so say your teacher's just reading off the PowerPoint and not really adding a lot to their lecture, this is going to be a good thing so you don't miss anything. So when you use this method, you lose the aspect of writing your own notes, which is a key role in memorizing your material. So like I said, If you're gonna be lazy about it, it's gonna end up hurting you in the long run. But if you're really on top of it and you take good notes based on what the teacher's saying, you're gonna be okay. This is probably gonna be a good method for you to use. And annotation. I'm sure a lot of you already know what annotation is, but I was just gonna go over it again because it can really be helpful when you're taking notes. So what is annotation? Annotation is quick notes, including questions, opinions, and themes about a reading material. When you're reading material, it's always helpful to annotate. I always use sticky notes because I hate writing in books, but if you're given an assignment and it's printed out and you don't have to worry about anybody else using it, I always write on the page. So annotation is just another method of note taking that's gonna help you in the long run. I use this all the time because as you get older, the material that you read gets a little bit harder to understand, a little bit longer, a little bit more complicated. So this is what annotation looks like. As you can see, whoever's notes these are, they had highlighted things and they wrote in the margins, often probably something to remind themselves when they're looking back at it to go look up this word, to try to see if there's any overarching themes, so on and so forth. Why is it useful? When reading, especially in school, when you don't get to pick the material that you read, a lot of information is being thrown at you and you're just trying to get through it. You're trying to get through that assignment, rush through it, but you're not absorbing the information. Annotation can help you slow down a little bit and connect to the material more than just reading alone can. Okay, so you're probably going to use all of these methods in your education. I've used Cornell notes in history class. I've used mapping and charting in English class when we're doing vocab. And it's going to be kind of thrown at you, and there's going to be some forms of note-taking that you're not going to like. But it's best to get these under control, to like get them, to get like a good grip on how to use these methods, so you can figure out what's going to work best for you in the long run, for when you go into high school or when you graduate high school and you're in college, or if you go on to grad school, so on and so forth. It's just going to be good for you in the long run to understand and get a grip on all of these. So how to take good notes. So we went over what note-taking should look like. How are you going to take good notes? So before you even get to class, you need to be prepared. I can't stress this enough. I was that kid in high school who never had my assignments done before I got to class. I was always scrambling to get it done right as the bell was ringing, turning it in, never looking at it again. But that's gonna eventually, if you just keep on doing that, it's gonna make you feel like you're just always a step behind where the class is. So you really wanna have everything down. Even if you don't have that good of a grip on it, you can ask questions. You don't wanna wait till the last possible second and then set everybody back. You also have to have a good attitude when you're going into school. Being open to learning is gonna make the class go a lot smoother for you. If you're like, oh, I hate chemistry, I don't wanna be here, I don't care about elements, I don't care about the periodic table, I just wanna get out. Class is gonna go a lot slower. Taking notes is just gonna be an awful experience. You gotta be open to what you're learning. Because eventually stuff gets to become cool. So in chemistry, for example, you get to do labs. And if you learn all the material correctly, you take good notes, the lab actually goes correctly, which I speak from experience from. Do your notes, do your assignments, do them before class. What exactly do you need to take notes on? In class, don't take every word from the slides. I had, in high school, my junior year, I was taking 3 AP classes, I was taking dual enrollment. I was taking notes off of every single slide all the time. And my hands hurt so bad that I would go to Starbucks after school and just wrap my hands around something cold just because it hurt at the end of the day. What's important to take notes on is both the content on the slides and what your teacher's telling you, okay? You don't need to say every single word. You can do shorthand. You can do, instead of writing the word and, A-N-D, you could do the symbol. You don't have to take notes on everything. When you're at home, so right now, if you're taking notes or reviewing them, look at your textbook. They're there for a reason. If your textbook says it and your teacher makes a big point of talking about it during class, I can guarantee you that it's going to be on your test 100% of the time. And that's one of the big things that they teach me in college, is that if you're talking about it in class and it's in your textbook, it's going to be on the test. When you're writing your notes, make sure that your notes are appealing to you. That's who they're for. I know a lot of the time your notes get taken in and they're graded, but really at the end of the day, they're just there to help you study. When you're writing your notes, pen helps you memorize things a little bit easier than pencil does, especially if it's in colored ink like blue. Do what's gonna help you focus. You can chew gum, have highlighters, have something to fidget with. Like this whole time I've just been fidgeting with my pen underneath where you can see me on the screen. So do what's gonna help you succeed. So really, I just wanna stress again, have your assignments done. If you're assigned something to read, say in English class, have the reading done. It's just gonna help you set yourself up for success. And last, learn to breathe a little bit. You gotta take a chill pill. This can feel like a lot, but taking good notes shouldn't stress you out. You need to go with the flow. Your learning style and your note-taking style can be tweaked here and there to do whatever is gonna work best for you. At-home learning can be stressful on its own. Believe me, I'm learning at home. My sisters are learning at home. It's just stressful on its own. You gotta do what's gonna help you succeed. You gotta set yourself up for success. All right, and that is it. If you have any questions right now, you go ahead and ask me them. But if you have any questions during the school year, you're just feeling super overwhelmed, feel free to email me. I'm totally here to help you guys if you're feeling stressed out when it comes to taking your notes. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Any questions? I know I went a little fast. I talk a little fast, but
I have a question.
yes.
So for my history class, we take like notes before we read,
Mm-hmm.
but then I feel like I always take the same amount of like page of notes as the page of the textbook I read, but then I try to like make it as short as possible.
Yeah, so you definitely don't want to be copying word for word what's happening. So something that helps me a lot when I'm doing a reading, so right now I'm doing a reading for my anthropology class, which is kind of like history. So I'm going to do a quick scan of the textbook before I actually like deep read it, and anything that stands out to me, so like important years, important names, important like places, or like we're doing archaeological sites, that stuff I'm going to write down on its own separate page, and then when I read it, I'm going to take a couple of details, no more than like 2 or 3 bullet points per thing, you know, because you don't want to just write down, you don't want to write a copy of your textbook, you know? So you just got to chill out, breathe a little bit, think about what's you're taking in, because it's not going to help you if you just write down everything, you know? Did that help answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a quick question, as always.
Yes.
So when it comes to reviewing your notes, like what tips do you have? Is it just like rewrite it, reread it, type it up? Like what are good effective tips at reviewing your notes that like actually help?
That's a good question. So whenever I'm reviewing, what I always look at, so I always use the outline method. So I'm going to look at my headings and I'm going to be like, okay, what do I think is important to know from this section of my notes? And so if I have a study guide on hand and there's a question from that section, I'm going to make sure I know as much as that question as I can, you know? Also, I tend to like just scan over my notes because I feel like if I take really good notes and I'm like super into it in class, that I'm going to retain that information. And then I shouldn't have to study so hard that it's like stressing myself out, you know? So just breathe a little bit. You don't have to like study so hard that you're like making your brain hurt or having like a headache or stressing yourself out. So just definitely reread your notes, breathe a little bit. If you typed up your notes, I would print them out and then annotate them. That's something that I used to do for a class last semester when it was super online. So I would type up my notes, print them out, highlight everything, read them, and then just leave it alone because there's only so much studying that your brain can take at a time.
Thank you, Allie.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
So all of those different note-taking styles that you described, is it common at all for someone to do like, or can you utilize more than one style on one page?
Absolutely. So something that I used to do, I was taking a world history class and it was required for us to take Cornell notes on one side of the page only. So on the back, I would use all the information that I had written on the front and I would do a mapping method on the back just because I was super visual about it. Drawing pictures tended to help me learn the most. So I would draw like where it is on the map. So like what country am I talking about? What kind of big themes are there? Because a lot of the time when you're taking tests, it's like, well, in this theme of history, how does this relate? So a lot of the time you can mix these up, you can do multiple, just whatever is going to help you the most.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Any other questions for Hallie?
I know I talk super fast, so feel free to ask any other questions. No,
All
all
right.
good.
I
All right.
think what we'll do is allow time also. You guys can write any questions in the chat box for Hallie specifically, for Travis, for Leanne, for anyone here too, myself and Simi and Shelly. If you have any questions about this workshop, about, you know, what was presented, go ahead and put it in the chat box or unmute yourself for that. I'm just gonna allow time for you guys to do that as we talk. But and if you guys put a question in the chat box, we'll get to that. Want to give you guys a really big kind of just a pat on the back to you guys for actually showing up today, being engaged. I appreciate you having your video on. Hopefully you have some takeaways from this event to help you with your just academic career right now. Everything is very strange, doing everything from home, or if some people are partially getting back to school. It's a strange time, and using some of these tips to help organize your time, utilizing you know, the Google Drive system, and taking good notes. Those things can help just in general your day, your week, your month go a little better. So definitely recommend all the things that were talked about today, that you check it out, at least look into those things a little further. I did mention that this video will be, it is recorded and it will be posted to the city YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find that. There'll be a link on our on the website where all the link for this event was, and you'll be able to access that, so you can cross-reference, go back to it. There is Hallie offered up her information, but we also have a slide that will show you, both Simi and myself, our direct email address as well, so that you can contact us if you come up with questions, or if you want copies of slides, if you want more information or contact information for a presenter, you can let us know that too. I don't see any questions popping up in the box, but I want to also put a plug in for our next workshop. We are going to have a workshop in February, so be on the lookout for that. That workshop will be, the topic is going to be jobs. So your job, your career plans, if you're looking for a job, things like that, we will be able to give you some information and tips, and again, have presentations on that. It will be, as planned, to be virtual as of right now, and possibly we might be able to open it up to in-person as well. We shall see. Before, right now, if we could, hopefully, if you guys could get your faces all the way into the square, I do want to take a group picture really quick, if possible. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to take a screenshot of my screen. So everybody just look at your camera and smile. And that is perfect. Maybe we can give a wave. Can everybody give a wave so we know it's like, yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Before I conclude today, I wanted to allow also Simi, I'm gonna share my screen and allow Simi to share information as well. I think I am. All right, Simi, did you want to share some information as well?
I just wanted to remind you guys again, here you guys have 2 email addresses of mine and Andy's. This is a great resource for you guys, a great networking opportunity. Life is, you know, in the future, it's going to get better. It's going to be different. You may have questions, all that type of stuff. Maybe volunteer opportunities, like Andy was talking about our upcoming workshop. There may be workshops or other events that we may be hosting, and this is a great opportunity for you guys to contact us. I know I love getting emails from teens in the community when it comes to volunteering activities, and a lot of them ask for volunteering and job questions and whatnot. So please feel free to email us. We'll get in contact with you guys as soon as possible. And along with our upcoming workshop, if you guys are into singing and acting or have any talents that you want to showcase, we're hosting a virtual showcase that'll be posted to our YouTube channel. The applications for that are out now, and you can submit it to either one of our community centers at Cypress or La Palma. So if you guys have those talents or know anyone with those talents that are teens, please let them know. We want to showcase them, show them off through our virtual YouTube channel.
Awesome. All right, so this does conclude our event. There will be a follow-up email that gets sent out to you guys with some information from, was it Cal State Fullerton or Long Beach?
Cal State Fullerton.
Fullerton. Okay, so Cal State Fullerton was nice enough to give some information about events or things that they have going on. So we're gonna send that out to you guys so we have your email address. And then we will also send you information about that upcoming event. In the meantime, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. And I just want to again thank our presenters for being here today. Leanne, Travis, and Hallie, awesome job. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Awesome, thank you guys so much for being here. Ivan's in the chat box saying great job to our speakers and thank you for tuning in, teens. So thank you guys so much. Reach out if you have any questions and we'll be in touch soon with a follow-up email. All right. Thank you guys. You can head on out.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.